All right, welcome back to the Daddy Show. This is the other video where I go into putting the pinion seal in and giving some tips that I learned while doing this for the first time ever. And hopefully you get some good use or some good information out of this video. And if you haven't seen the last video, please go back, watch that one. I referenced this video in that. So if you're here from that video, thank you for moving on to this video and watching both videos. Truly appreciate it. If you haven't seen that video, please go watch that. It's about diagnosing the rear end, and I hope you guys enjoy. So hopefully you find some helpful tips in here. I learned a lot. I've never done this before on this kind of a rear end. Actually, I've never done this before at all. So I was learning as I was going. That's kind of why that first video is kind of drawn out a little bit, and I apologize for that. This one is a little bit too, but it's because I was learning as I was going, and I wanted to share what I was learning and some of the most important things that I learned while doing this. So hopefully you guys get something out of it too. And like I said, I would have shown doing the wheel bearings and the rear end and putting everything in and out and all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, there's so many videos out there. It's just be white noise. And there are so many people that do a much better job that know what they're doing versus me learning what I'm doing. And so that's why I didn't do a video on any of that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I truly appreciate you and appreciate you sticking around, subscribing, liking the videos, commenting, and we've had some good discourse going on a number of the videos, and I truly appreciate you guys. So thank you. And without further ado, enjoy the video. I'm actually underneath the 1971 GMC right now. Just got done putting the rear, I guess call it the rear. I don't know which one's the front, one's the rear, inside, outside, whatever you want to call it. I guess I would call this the inside bearing race, the one inside the housing. And I apologize for the horrible lighting. All I have is a flashlight and a very bright one. But that's all I have to light myself up with here underneath the truck. So I'm going to show you guys what I've been doing, what I'm working on here. I'm working on the rear end, and there's the rear end right there. I had some good luck here, and it took a little doing, so I wanted to share what I did, so that way anybody else out there who either has the same or has an issue or wants to save money or doesn't have money, which I don't have a lot of myself. So if you are like me and don't have a whole lot of money and you want to put a bearing race back in on a budget, this video is for you. So stay tuned. It's a fun one. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, well, 99.9% or 100% of you are male. So gentlemen, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are underneath the 71 GMC K1500 four-wheel drive. You can see the exhaust is in beautiful rusted shape. Not rusted through though, so it's good enough. There's the stainless steel brake lines that I put in. Those are brand new. Well, that one, that, and over to there. The wheel cylinders that the brake lines screw into in the back, those are new as well. That line going up there is new, and then going all the way down the frame rail, all the way up to the front, all the way to the master cylinder, and the lines coming out of the master cylinder into the proportioning valve. All those are new. So if you'd like to see something about those, let me know. I need to get some oil back in here because this thing's starting to rust on me. So I just cleaned it out yesterday and it's rusting that quickly, so I'm gonna spread some oil in there. Anywho, I just got that bearing race. All right, come on. Oh, I hate this light. All right, I just got this bearing race back in. You can see the other bearing, what I'm calling the outer bearing. I got that race installed pretty easily. The bearing and the seal all pretty easily. There's lots of videos all over YouTube on those. Don't trouble yourself with me trying to explain that to you because there's videos all over the place for it. This one, however, right here, was a bit more of a pain for a couple of reasons. Now, forgive my lighting. This is horrible. So, one reason is that this guy isn't big enough to fit the outer diameter of this race, so it doesn't touch all the way around the outside here. You certainly can't drive it in like that. You will ruin your race. So I had a genius idea and thought, why don't I take the old race that came out of there? It's the right size. So I put it up against there, and then, that's amazing, it stayed. And then I used this to drive it in against the new race. And at first, it was a major pain. I got it to start, but I couldn't quite get it all the way in. It was, well, here, let me show you with the old race. Instead of being straight in there, it was cocked just a little bit, just a tiny bit, but enough that I couldn't get it to straighten out and go in. It just kept staying at a weird angle, and I could not get it to straighten out and go in. So I popped it back out. This sucker, I popped it back out. It was barely in, but I popped it out, put it in the freezer for 3 hours, approximately 3 hours, 3-ish hours, and brought it out here wrapped in some ice packs. Got a little motor oil. Should probably use gear oil, but I actually don't have any on hand yet. Sad, I know, but if you're like me and on a budget, there's reasons for that. So you'd use what you got. So I put some motor oil around the outside of the bearing, but before I did that, I used some MAP gas. Use this sucker, use this torch, and I went around the outside here, heating up the outside around the hole, moving constantly, not stopping ever. And then I went inside the hole and heated up the inside for probably 10-15 seconds, maybe 20, and then went back around the outside again for a total of 30 to 45 seconds of heating, maybe a minute. I don't know if I even went a minute. And that's all I did. So I got it to where it was hot, but not hot to the touch. So when I came back in here with that cold race from the freezer, I was able to put motor oil on my finger and run it around the inside of here, and it was hot, but it wasn't enough to burn me. So you don't want it too hot. You don't want to stress or strain this housing. So I got it warm and hot to the touch, but not hot enough to burn me, which means it was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of, I'd say, I don't know, 150 to 180 maybe, I don't know, maybe 200 at most. I didn't leave my finger on there long enough to know if it was going to actually burn me, so but it was hot. But I was able to get a layer of oil around the outside, and then obviously, like I said, I put oil all along this edge of the new bearing, so that way, or the new race, all the way around the outside, a nice thin layer. So I put it in. It started to go. It got 3/4 of the way, and then it seemed to get hung up a little bit, but I just kept after it, pounding it with this guy and my, with this combination right here. These two, just pounded it in and just kept lightly tapping it. Well, lightly's a relative term. I was hitting it pretty good. And eventually it finally just went. And the last 1/4 to 1/8 of it, it just slid right in. And I just went until it got that nice dead sound. You can tell it's a little bit of a hollow sound. And if you watch YouTube videos, other videos, you will hear that sound where it's hollow as they're pounding it. And then all of a sudden it gets dead solid. And that's when you know you've gotten it all the way in. So I got really lucky with this rear end. What happened was the clutch pack on this axle went bad, lost a chunk of metal. It went through the ring gear, chipped one teeny piece off the ring gear. Well, it wasn't teeny, it was a decent size, but I mean, it was, maybe this big. It was, relatively speaking, it was fairly small, but inside here, when stuff's spinning, it's a huge piece. And somehow, Nothing stayed in here and rattled around in the bearing or in the ring and pinion. It went through this hole, and little chunks ended up on the other side of that outer bearing, and the biggest chunks of everything were way up there. How that did that, I don't know. I will take luck over skill any day. But anyway, so here we are. We're now ready to put the pinion back in, and you can see all this moisture here is from that little bit of oil that I smeared around there to get that bearing to go in. So there you have it. This is driving a bearing race on a budget. Use the old race with your driving tool if it's not the right size, and make sure you keep it square and flush and hold it really well, really tight, and it works. It worked perfectly on this. Didn't mar the edge. I got no chips or chunks or anything I can feel here. Everything's perfect. It stayed nice and true, and I didn't even keep it perfectly on there. You know, I still was, you know, this thing was still kind of would come off a little bit this way and then this way and then this way, and I just tried to make sure if it did it, if it was off to this side a little bit, I made sure it went off to this side for a little bit, and then I brought it back to center and hit it a few times dead center. If it got off, I went off the opposite direction and just kept working it until it finally just went nice and smooth here, straight down the middle, and got her nice and solid. So there it is. Sorry I'm not looking at you. It's hard to spin this camera around underneath this truck with this horrible lighting and this nice dark area under here. So anyway, there you have it. If you're like me, on a budget, that's a good way to drive a bearing race in without going out and buying or renting a tool that costs money that you have to have in the bank, because maybe you don't have that money in the bank sitting there, even though you can rent the tool and get a refund. Maybe you don't have that money. So yeah, maybe you don't have that money sitting in the bank, and so it helps to have ways around it. So I'm hoping this helps somebody do this on a budget, and I also hope it helps take some of the mystery out of doing it, and let somebody who might otherwise be afraid to do it themselves. It's really not that hard. If you make sure you're doing it right, it's not that hard. And if you find yourself doing something like this and you got questions, obviously feel free to reach out to me in the comments and all that good stuff. I do check them. I do respond to them as quickly as possible, as quickly as I can. And yeah, let me know if you have questions. But I mean, man, if you take your time and really just pay attention to what you're doing, this is pretty easy. Now the tough part is getting the carrier back in here, getting the ring and getting the pinion set correctly, getting the tension set right. You do have to have the correct inch-pound torque wrench to know that you're at the right torque spec to turn the pinion, to know that you have the right preload on it. You do have to have that, and then you need a shim set and all the other stuff that goes with it with doing this. And if you are looking to do something like this and I didn't give you enough details on tools you might need, or the set you might need, or you don't know, and you can't find any information on it, reach out to me. I can definitely leave a comment with what I used, what I bought, where I got it, all that good stuff. LMC truck really is where I got most of the stuff. And disappointed in LMC with their selection of bearings for the wheel bearings. These bearings are fine. They're Koyos. They're made in Japan. Not great. Not as good as Timken, but better than Chinese junk. And that's the only thing available for this 12 bolt is Chinese junk at LMC anyway. They don't have any Timken or Koyo or anything available for this axle tube. So another thing, this is a GM 12 bolt. It is a posi traction rear end. It is not a Dana. It's just a regular 12 bolt. Let me see if I can get back here so you can see the shape of it. And I think it's a 51 is what's stamped over here on this side, somewhere over here, right there. I don't know if you can see where my finger is. right there, it's stamped with a 51. So I don't know if that that tells you enough or not, but yeah, anyway, GM 12 bolt on a half-ton four-wheel drive GMC K1500 with currently drum brakes. I like to switch it over to rotors or discs, but anyway, this is going way too long. There you have it. Hopefully that helps you, and if you have any questions, let me know. All right, it's nice and grainy. My camera's trying to make up for how dark it is here, and it's got the aperture blown out completely. That's why it's all grainy, but I apologize. I found out if I shine the light into the rear end and it reflects off of it back at me, it's actually better lighting. So I should have done it the first time. I could redo it, but why would we do that? Who's got time for that, right? So anyway, thank you for tuning in. I hope you've made it this far in the video. I hope this is helpful, and hope it helps you save some money and some time and some frustration, because I've had a lot of all of that fly out the window. And well, frustration came at me, from the inside, but money flying out the window, and time flying out the window messing with this stuff. But anyway, hopefully this helps. And if you want to rent a tool, the right size tool to drive the race in, by all means do it. I would recommend that. But if you don't have that, you don't have the money in the bank account, do it the way I just did it, and it worked. I had to take it slow. I had to be really careful, and I had to make sure I didn't heat up the housing too much, and just had to go slow. Make sure that I put oil on everything, just a little really thin layer, super thin, but it had to be there, and just had to take my time, and so that's what I did. And if you do the same, there's no reason you can't do this yourself. So, but if it's not something you're comfortable with, definitely don't do it. Take it to somebody that knows what they're doing. So, or somebody like me who doesn't necessarily know everything they're doing on this certain particular project, but is capable of doing it and figuring it out as they go. And here we are. So I'll keep you posted on how the rest of this goes while I put the carrier in. I had to buy a new carrier. The clutch pack on the passenger side, axle side, like I said, blew out a piece of metal. It got into the ring gear. Luckily only chipped one tooth in one spot. Didn't do any other damage. Left shavings, teeny tiny little shavings of metal, got into all the oil and all the bearings, everything. So everything was trashed as far as that's concerned. Not so much everything was rattling or going crazy. It was popping a lot in the rear end, but that's because that clutch disc set, the clutch pack was just pinging and popping up, rubbing against itself. And see, if any more of that had come out, it could have grenaded the entire rear end. At highway speeds, spinning as fast as that spins, it could have totally shelled the entire thing and just ruined the whole rear end. So I got lucky. Nothing else came apart. And the piece that did come apart, lucky it didn't do any more damage. So anyway, so that being said, I had to buy a new carrier. I got that from a company in Las Vegas. I don't know if I want to say who I got it from. I don't know. It was pretty cheap, and I'm afraid it's going to be junk. I don't know. I hope not. It seems to be quality. And there comes a point where there's only so much difference between cheap and expensive. There's only a few things that make it more expensive, and for what the cheap one has in it, there's no reason it can't be good. So it should be good. But anyway, I've got to torque the ring gear back down to the new carrier. The new carrier has Raybestos clutch packs in it. It's all set, ready to go. It's supposed to be just drop it in, put your ring gear on it, drop it in, set up your backlash, and so yeah, that'll be the next thing I do. I got to set the preload on the pinion correctly. Once that's set, I can put the carrier in, see if it's set right, see if I need to shim it or not, or if the factory shims are going to work. I don't know. I don't know how this carrier is made. It may require some shimming, so we'll see. And I'll keep you posted on how that goes, and just keep you posted on the rest of this. So anyway, I'm talking way too much. There's just so much to go over. There's so much work to be done on this truck. So if you're interested in the 68 through 72, actually 67 through 72 model year Chevy and GMC trucks, these videos are for you. And definitely leave me a comment in the comments and let me know if you want to see more. And I will do my best to continue showing you more of what I'm working on. If you want to see other parts of things I've already done, leave me a comment. Maybe I can go back and film it for you, film you something extra, give you a better explanation, add to what I did, and just put a video out and you know, put it in the title that, hey, this is a follow-up to X video, backed by popular demand or whatever. You know, I'll figure something out. Yeah, we can go from there. So anyway, that's all I got. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you made it this far, holy cow, you're a saint, and I appreciate you. So we will talk to you in the next video. All right, that's enough. Jeez. Oh, man, so much rust on the ground. Look at that. I don't know if you can even see that. I can't even see where I'm pointing the camera, but all that rust fell off the bottom of this thing. I mean, look at all that. Well, some of that is just the crappy coating they put on this thing 25, 30 years ago, whenever that was. You know, big holes like that right up there. Don't even know if I'm pointing it right. It's just, there's just, yeah, just a lot to fix. There's the bump stop there, and that's all rusted at the end right there. Springs are rusted. This whole thing just needs some TLC. Needs lots of TLC. But don't we all? Look at this gray hair. Well, you kind of, there we go. Look at that gray hair. I'm getting there myself. Big gulps, huh? Well, see you later.